Hi, welcome to the bathtub. This is the old masturbator, Scott Bradfield. And Dodo's in her cage. She doesn't want to come out lately. She's molting. It's that time of month, time of the year for Dodo, and she's kind of cranky. And I'm not too. This is also the post nasal drip episode, so it's the post tech, post nasal drip because I got allergies and stuff. So if I sniff a lot, it's kind of annoying. Anyway, we kind of fell behind. I got a bunch of different things I wanted to do. Um, we'll talk a little bit about it in the next episode. But we have the 3,000th subscriber coming up. It's a race from the climate apocalypse, the Trump apocalypse, and the 3,000th subscriber. Which one of them are going to get here first? And I'm pretty sure we're going to have 3,000 subscribers before those other bastards ruin our fun. So we'll talk about it. It's going to be exciting. 3000th episode, and we're going to bring back all the tech. We're going to bring back the whiteboard. We're going to bring back the pixels. I'm going to be resplendent. I'm going to be resplendent in pixels. Dodo, she's excited about it too. And we're going to have a 3000th episode, which is going to be just like all our other episodes, only possibly a bit longer. And we might we're going to try to do a live, not a conversation, but where we can hopefully people can type and ask questions and something like that. Anyway, it's too much excitement. We can't talk about it right now. Today, I just want to kind of catch up, and I was sort of reading through one of my favorite novels, Faulkner's *The Sound and the Fury*. I've been making the case that it is annoying. Yes, it is exasperating, but it's actually a great novel, and there's some great stuff in it. So that I'm going to close off. We've done a small bit on each of the long chapters. So there's 4 major chapters. The first one is The Biggest Bear. We've talked about it. The Benji Mori chapter, where you have this kid who's got brain damage and we're flashing around in time. And then the second chapter is Quentin suicide, the boy Quentin suicide. And that's kind of written this high Faulknerian language and stream of consciousness. And then you have the third with Jason, we talked about the last episode, which is just this totally relentless bastard who just is a monster, who's hilarious and who just doesn't like anything or anybody, and he's just a total bastard. Anyway, then there's a sort of pause. So it ends on the last day. So it takes place over 2 or 3 days, doesn't it? And the last episode is a little bit more. It's much more down to earth. So you're not going to have trouble understanding what's happening in the 4th chapter. The 4th chapter starts with. I'm trying to find my page here. It starts from Dulcie's point of view, and then it moves around a bit. But the best part of it, yes, okay, it's April 8th. This is the last of the 3 days. The carnival's left town, and it's the next morning. And I think it is a Sunday, and we wake with Dulcie going around the house. She's this big, overweight, old black woman whose family has been taking care of these Compsons and these increasingly degenerated Compsons for years. And Dulcie pretty much is running the whole house and raising all the children, while Mrs. Compson lies in bed all day, complaining about how badly she's treated, which is her. And this is at the aftermath of this carnival has left town, and there's a kind of a slow, long opening. So the first half of that chapter is great. Faulkner can tell a story from point of view. He's great at getting in a certain person's head, seeing the world as Dulcie sees it, going through her daily chores and rounding up what's going on. And Luster's kind of acting kind of sheepish, and Quentin, the daughter of Caddy, who's upstairs, they think is upstairs, and Mrs. Compson's complaining that Dulcie hasn't started the fire. So I don't need to tell you much more than that, except that it's a kind of a slow awakening of this family on a Sunday morning, in which eventually they realize that Quentin, the girl, has disappeared. She was up in her bedroom the night before, they thought, and she's disappeared. And it takes a while to understand this, but basically she's broken into Jason's office and stolen the money he's been stealing from her, which Jason reports as $3,000. I think it may be more. We don't really know, but he reports it to the sheriff, and the sheriff comes over and says, what the hell will you do with those $3,000? The sheriffs in Faulkner, by the way, are usually kind of smart, old guys who kind of know what's going on, and this sheriff seems to know that Jason's a bastard and has been stealing money. Our post-tech water, it filled in the lucid light of day without any alcohol. That's the post-tech decade. And so that's basically the first half of it. Then we start to shift point of view a little bit, and the only thing that I think that I kind of like to point out is just these wonderful little moments in Faulkner, where you don't really realize what's happening emotionally in the characters, but then you realize it later. So, for example, when they realize that Quentin, the girl, has disappeared from her room, Mrs. Compson's distraught, and she comes down saying, "Where's the note? She must have left a note." Everyone's going, "What are you talking about, a note?" And you don't realize for many, many pages, or actually even in maybe many readings, that she says they always leave a note. And she means Quentin, because her boy, Quentin, in the second chapter, spends a lot of that chapter writing a note to his family before he kills himself. And you realize how incredibly in pain this woman has been for decades after this son's death. I don't think there's much else to talk about in the last chapter, just to say that it really kind of settles down. The first half of Dulcie, we take her through the day, and then she goes to church. We meet her daughter, who was the one who came up with the quarter so Lester could go to the carnival. And they go home, and there's a new preacher there who's really Bible thumping and getting them all excited. And there's a kind of a great lift where Benji is even enjoying the service. The rest of the chapter starts to shift points of view. I'm not wild about the second half of the last chapter. It's okay, and there's some good parts in it, but I kind of wish he'd just stay with Dulcie, because that ending, particularly with the church scene, is really one of the best parts of the book. But then we go off with Jason. He goes chasing after the carnival. We find out that's how we find out that Quentin has run off with the guy with the red tie who works for the carnival, and they've taken his money and pissed off somewhere. And then he comes back, and then there's a kind of a staged piece that closes the book, which you can see Faulkner is kind of, I think Faulkner even says this for many years after, it's kind of like his comment on the Old South and what's happened to the Old South. And in the closing scene, you have Luster, the black kid of Dulcie, and he's taking this brain-damaged kid who's moaning and screaming in pain because he misses everything about his life, and Jason's whipping him. And they're on a broken old wagon with a broken old horse. And it really is kind of set up as this is what's happened to the South as far as Faulkner in the 20s. Not my favorite. It's not the sort of thing. It's kind of this very complicated, interesting metaphor, and it doesn't have that emotional impact that I got from Mrs. Compson coming down looking for a note when she's certain her granddaughter's committed suicide. Some really, really powerful moving parts in it, and especially Benji's reaction to some of the things that happened. And that's really it. I would say that it's one of my all-time favorite novels. I have a couple little places that bother me, but I think I mentioned those. And I would really recommend giving it a try. These little modest 4 commentaries are just trying to help, just kind of lead you in the right direction, because I'm sure, lots of mistakes about what exactly happens. And I would avoid all of those commentaries, all those plot summaries. They really do kind of ruin the sense of the novel. He was a wonderful novelist in his best years. Okay, that's the end of my argument for Sound of the Fury, and we'll do a couple more of these shortly, and then very soon the 3,000 subscribers coming along. He or she does not know who they are, but when they get here, it's going to be pixel hell. We're going to have pixelation beyond belief. We're going to have the whiteboard, special effects, the candle. You won't believe it. Okay, bye.